This is the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. Watch films with us.
Oh, I've got a really itchy bumhole.
That's the intro. That has to be the intro.
God damn it.
Welcome to the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. I am Trevor Webb, I'm your host, and joined with me this week, as always, is Gavin Ryan. Gavin Ryan, say hi!
Hello.
Oh, I'll never get old. Like, if we get into, thousands of episodes, which, maybe hundreds is more realistic, but if we get into high numbers, it's still going to be funny. To me, at least.
Yeah, to you.
That's what's important, isn't it? So how have you been?
Yep, alright, lots of homeschooling. That's about it. How have you been, Trevor?
I'm good. I've brought a Christmas tree today, ready, and put it up.
Yeah?
Ready?
Oh, it gets earlier every year.
Well, you can never be too prepared. This week, you don't need to introduce the film, because we've got Mr. Warren Winter, who, as we stated earlier in the last podcast, was in And Us, one of the greatest bands ever. I mean, I'm jealous.
Out of, what, all of them?
Yeah, all of them, ever.
Even Coldplay?
Well, not even jokingly, yes, definitely even Cole. But jokingly, yes, better than all of them. Better than NoFX,
Okay.
better than Streetlight Manifesto. All the actual good bands.
Those good bands.
Yeah. He has done us a little introduction, which we're going to cut to. Because he's prettier than we are, and he's got a nice mohawk. Go!
Hi, my name's Warren, and for this week on Cool Kids Film Club, my film was chosen, which was The Personal History of David Copperfield. And I chose this film because, basically, it's been a shit year and a bit, and I just thought it was a nice feel-good film for everyone to watch. It made me smile, and I thought it was a jolly good film. It's directed by I can't say his name. Armando Lucchini, or something like that is. I don't. That's what I got. And it's starring Dev Patel as David Copperfield, who I thought done a pretty good job at his role. And also it stars Hugh Laurie as Mr. Dick. I like Hugh Laurie and I like dicks, so I thought I would just put that in there. Yeah. Have fun with the podcast, boys.
So, as you've just heard from Mr. Warren Winter, that sexy, sexy man, the film this week is The Personal History of David Copperfield. I always get that fucking wrong. Sworn already. Bad man. Anyway, the film is that Personal History of David Copperfield. As you may notice, do you notice anything, Gavin?
Oh, you got a new logo.
Yeah, that's done by a very talented and very person-y person, Debbie Webb. She did that for us.
It's my favourite of all the webs.
Really? Charming.
Yeah. It goes Debbie Webb,
Yeah.
Robert Webb from the Peep Show,
Right, yeah.
Harry Webb, that would be
The real one or the
Elton John.
Elton John one? Yeah.
Then Harry Webb, your dad.
Yeah, the real one. The real Elton John. Fun fact.
And then you're fifth.
Fifth. Okay.
Actually, no. You're sixth. Dexter. He's a bit better than you.
To be fair, I agree with a lot of the above. I think I'm better than Elton.
I actually hate Elton John, so yeah, all right. You could be promoted.
He was all right
Fifth
in.
best.
He was all right in The Gentleman Part 2, whatever that was called. Quite liked his role in that.
Gentleman Part 2.
It wasn't called that. What was it called?
Oh, The Kingsman.
Kingsman.
2.
Not Gentleman.
I've not seen Part 2, so I can't say.
Elton John's role in that is very good. So, as usual, we'll do a little spoiler warning. If you haven't seen that film, you're in the wrong place. It is a spoiler review, meaning we will discuss it. Beginning and all in between. So
We should say, because Warren couldn't pronounce his name.
what you mean?
Do
you mean Armando Luciani?
Yeah.
Armando Luciani, that's his name, isn't it?
Armando Luciani, yeah. So no, his name is Armando Iannucci.
Alright. Do you want to tell us a bit about him?
Well, yeah, Armando Iannucci is pretty much a mainstay of British comedy. He's responsible for writing Alan Partridge, The Thick of It. He's done a lot of work with Stuart Lee. Created The Day Today with Chris Morris. And this is it his fourth directorial film? I know he did a short film for Tube Tales and The Death of Stalin, and he did In the Loop, which was the film version of his TV show The Thick of It. So yeah, there we go. Armando Luciani, or whatever it was.
Armando Luciani. Armando Luciani. That's his name.
Armando Luciani.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, in this film, it's all about name changes, and David Copperfield's name gets changed multiple times. So maybe that's what Warren was going for there. Maybe he was just being clever, and you looked down on him, when really it's just gone over your head.
I never looked down on Warren.
He's a wonderful man.
So, Phil, what's it about, Trevor? Tell us all about what it's about.
Well, before that, I just want to say that I hate film titles that are longer than necessary, and the personal history of David Copperfield is one of the worst offenders, in my opinion. The only one worse than this that springs to mind is another one that came up in the film club last year, but Warren also recommended. What was it called? Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile.
Oh yeah, that's probably the worst. I just the other night actually watched a film called Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight that took me quite a long while to remember.
That's
Keep
not
it snappy.
too bad. It's bad, but it's not. It's adding extra words. The personal history of David Copperfield. I mean, is personal needed? The history of David Copperfield's a rubbish title. But adding the word personal, does that make it a better title?
Maybe. I mean, it's saying that the story is from his point of view.
True. Still wasn't a fan of the title. So yeah, the personal history of David Copperfield is based on a Charles Dickens book and tells the story of David Copperfield from birth through to young adult, where he writes his first book. The first scene shows Copperfield on a stage introducing the audience to his own story. The stage then falls away as he runs through a field and into the house that he was born in, just as his mother is giving birth, which I quite liked. Quite liked the opening to it.
There's a few of those kind of interesting transitions. There's a bit where they're talking about another part of the movie and it's kind of playing on in the background. And there's another bit near the end where they kind of lift up the backdrop to one scene and it just becomes the next scene.
Mm-hmm. Yes, artistically and stylistically, definitely its points.
So where are we starting then? At the start?
Well, that was the start. That's
That
where
was
we
the start,
started.
wasn't it?
We've started
Yeah.
at the start already. We can't restart at the start unless you want to redo it.
No, that'll be fine.
Right. So yeah, in this scene, we're introduced to the first of many, 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 many characters. the aunt that turns up expecting the baby to be a girl. I mean,
Yes.
what did you think of her? I was a bit confused by her.
I mean, she's well played by Tilda Swinton.
Mm.
It's, what were you confused about? She's just, I think, a person of that time, mean, cold, heartless.
I guess at that point I wasn't that confused. It's more later on. But at this point, she's, as you say, quite heartless. And she's wanting the baby to be a girl. When she finds out it's a boy, she storms off. Doesn't want to be part of it, etc. But then later on, when we are reintroduced to her, which is obviously skipping a lot, but she becomes almost a totally different person. She doesn't seem like that at all.
Did she?
To me. I mean,
I think
she let him live with her.
I think you're mixing two characters up.
Am I?
Yes, that's a different character altogether. That's his other aunt, that woman's sister.
Oh.
Did you watch the film? Yeah, that's his. That's that woman's sister, I believe. But it's definitely another aunt who, is very nice to him because she's got a different husband. Because isn't
Mr. Dick?
Isn't the mean aunt married to the factory owner, or is that his uncle?
We're getting into a note I've made at a later point in this. We're going to get onto it now. There were a lot of characters in this, and the film was 2 hours long, which I've seen people online complaining about it was too long. It wasn't long enough. Like, most of these characters weren't fleshed out at all.
I don't know the Dickens book at all. We did, I think we did Oliver Twist at school, and it's not something I've ever read personally, but apparently it does leave a lot out from the book.
I've not read it either. Wasn't really familiar with the story at all, to be honest. I knew it was a Charles Dickens story. That's about all I know. But yeah, the characters. There was a few times as well, location-wise and things, I was a bit confused on the whereabouts of where things was happening and stuff like that, but we'll get into that, I'm sure, in the later sections. There's a few shots near the beginning that were shot in King's Lynn, North Norfolk, in England. Have you ever been?
I'm being there now.
Me too. It's a bit strange seeing a film set in a place where you live. Like, I go for a walk past those docks most days, and it's just weird seeing it on film.
There's one shot later on when David comes out of the house of what's the butler guy's name? Uriah. When he comes out of Uriah and his mother's house, that is literally, I could get there in probably 3 minutes from here, walking.
Where you are now. Didn't you used to live down one of those roads as well?
Oh yeah, there's a shot as well down Nelson Street, and I used to live at, I think, number 34 Nelson Street. So yeah, my old street is on there.
It's crazy times.
That's a good time to point out. I quite like the way how just race isn't a thing at all.
There's a word for this, and I've forgotten what it's called. Colourblind casting, I believe, is at least what I've seen people refer to it as. What did you think of it?
I thought it was quite good, and there's even a little tiny joke where he goes to his, I think their family that live in the boat, and they're like, all of the mother and father are both white, and they've got white kids, and somebody says something about it, and they go, "Oh no, they're adopted," because like everybody else in the film is like Asian but with white parents, and and this whole completely white family, and they mentioned that no, their kids are adopted.
I didn't notice that. Went over my head. But, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Colourblind casting. I've noticed it in films with accents and things before, where different people in different families have different accents, so therefore from the same country, but from a different place. This is taking that to an extreme. I certainly never minded the accents. This is much more noticeable but not noticeable in a bad way.
I can't say I've ever seen it done before like this.
No, not to this extent. I do feel, with all the confusion, with all the so many characters, this may have added to it a little bit. With a smaller cast, I think it could work better. With this many people, and I didn't really know who was related to who and who was what relation and where they were and stuff as it was. So this did probably add to the confusion somewhat, but in general, I'm all for it.
I'm usually very confused at these kind of things, but I think I had quite a decent grip on who was who. But then again, it was the second time I've seen it.
So yeah, David Copperfield is living at home. He's still a young boy. He's living with his mother. Don't know where his dad was.
No, it's not mentioned. I don't think.
But his mother soon meets a man called Edward, who is a complete turd. I think that's a family-friendly term.
He's a Wally. Don't like
Wally.
him.
I like that.
Yeah, he's definitely taking up the evil stepfather role.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get married? I think they get married, don't they, as well? Yeah.
Well, this is the first thing of many that gets done kind of without David even being told. They turn up and tell him, oh yeah, by the way, we got married.
One of the best bits of the film later on, where he isn't quite told about something. I guess we'll get to that.
So, yeah, Edward is the guy who she marries. He, as we stated, is a bit of a Wally. He does try to fit in, but in his own Wally-ish way. He is trying to educate David at one point. He's giving him a lesson, but obviously that doesn't go very well. Copperfield is not too happy with him being in this new authoritative figure role. Talks back to him, ends up being chased upstairs for a beating, and there's a scene with a washpan. Yeah, chamber pot. That I quite liked.
He gets a face full of piss when he's chasing after David.
Yes.
Can't beat a face full of piss. It's always good comedy.
Well, when we were watching the film, me and Gavin actually watched it together for the first time, I think, in the film class. We weren't watching it together, same room, obviously, different houses, but online, same time. And when we do this, we always have a thing where we say, that's you, that is, to a character. And Edward was you.
Yeah, I never got to hear that's you.
No, I noticed. Do you want to assign me somebody now?
You can be the guy who's always in debt. What was his name? Was that
That's Mr. McCorber.
McCorber? Yeah, Mr. McCorber.
That's alright, he was kind of cool. I liked him.
He was alright, yeah.
Better than Edward.
Yeah. So shortly after that, he goes to work in the bottle factory.
Well, I've got quite a lot before that.
Oh, really? That was
Yeah.
the next bit.
You jumped. Well, to be fair, story-wise, I haven't got much before that, but Edward then has a sister move in, who is played by Gwendoline Christie, also known as Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones. Did you notice that?
No, actually just looking through saw that she was in it, and not my favourite actress, her. I think she's absolutely dreadful in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, didn't love her, but
I like that character just fine, but I think she's a poor actress.
Fair enough. But, the reason I brought her up in here is mostly because it's a nice segue into the fact that we've already mentioned there are just so many actors in this film, and not just actors. I mean, I recognise that in a film, especially a mainstream film like this, most actors are going to have been in other stuff before, obviously. But I've never seen a film, I don't think, which had so many recognisable faces. Like, oh, I know him, I know her. And just
I think a big part of that is being British, and there's so many faces from British TV in this as well.
yes,
Lots of British comedy people.
including, this is what a large part of these notes are about, to be fair, the midwife, or I think she's a family member, but I don't know who she is, Peggotty, played by Daisy May Cooper, who I'm sure has been in lots of stuff, but I just know her from season 10 of Taskmaster.
Oh, right, I haven't got to 10 yet. She's the writer of... Where is she? What was her name again?
Daisy May Cooper.
Yes, she's the writer of This Country, which a few people have told me to watch, British sitcom.
Yeah. I didn't like her much in Taskmaster.
No,
I didn't.
She's great in this. There's a great moment right near the start where Tilda Swinton's character comes in and like just rearranges an ornament, and then as Peggotty's leaving the room, she like moves it back and like gives her this weird look. I thought it was brilliant.
So in this, I liked her. She was good. Her character in this was good, but it's just in Taskmaster I wasn't a fan. Is this what you said of Brienne of Tarth? You don't like her as a person, but as an actress she's fine? Or was it the other way around?
No, it was the other way around.
Fair enough. I do listen sometimes. This is why I record things. Before we did the podcast, I just had thousands of hours of video of just you talking. Just listen to it back over and over.
Right. So I don't know where you're getting now, but also another name pops up soon. Paul Whitehouse.
Yes, he's on my list. But as you mentioned him, do you want
to? Probably best known in England for the Fast Show.
Indeed.
And he has a great. I really like his line. And right when he's introduced as well, he's like looking at the sky and it's a lovely sky. Too much sky. Quite liked.
There are a lot of good lines in this, to be fair. It was written quite well.
That's an Armando Iannucci thing. I mean, he's got a very poetic way with comedy. Still, a lot of the lines are very... It's about how they sound almost. There's a great... I mean, I brought it up now, so there's a bit later on where when they're having dinner at Uriah's and his mother... They're talking about the heavy cake and his mother said, "Oh, he can't abide a light cake." Just like little lyrical lines like that.
Yeah, I did notice. The writing was very good. Other names, big names, Peter Capaldi, also known as one of the Doctor Who's. Don't know which one. Never seen him. He plays Mr. Micawber, who... Is that who you said I am?
Yeah.
I'm sure. Doctor Who. Brilliant.
It's fine. I hate Doctor Who, so you can be him.
I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I'd like a teleporting telephone box. That'd be nice. His wife is played by Bronagh Gallagher, who I recognised from a TV show, You, Me and the Apocalypse, and films such as Grabbers, and a film that I know you loved, Gavin, Deep Down, Botched.
Oh, God. Somebody from Botched in this. I can't even find her. Oh, there we go. Oh, she's in Pulp Fiction.
Was she? I missed that.
Somehow. God, who was she in Pulp Fiction?
I don't know.
She was Trudy in Pulp Fiction, which is one of the drug dealers where Mia overdoses.
Ah, yes. Yes, I think I do recall that. Then we have Mr. Dick, who Warren mentioned in his intro. He's played by Hugh Laurie from House MD. He's obviously quite a big name. Then you get into lesser known people, at least for me, but people that I kind of recognised but had to look up where I knew them from. You have Anurin Barnard, who was in Dunkirk, and a film called Dead in a Week or Your Money Back, which I saw a while ago. I think that's where I was mainly recognising his face from.
He's in Legend as well, with the film about the Cray twins.
And then finally, or at least for me, you have Ben Whishaw is here as the film's antagonist, who you've already mentioned, Uriah Heep. Whishaw is the voice of Paddington in the recent adaptations and plays Michael Banks in the Mary Poppins remake.
He's in The Lobster as well, which... Actually, I didn't care for that much, but I really liked the director of that.
I quite liked The Lobster, but didn't recognise him from there.
Somebody else as well, another quite a big name actually. Benedict Wong. He plays the alcoholic who's just can't keep his eyes off booze. He's in a load of the Avengers films and stuff, but I know him best from 16 Stories High or Up, is it called? The Sean Locke sitcom.
The Marvel film you mentioned. He was originally in Doctor Strange, I believe, and then he was in all of the Avengers films from that point on. But he's Doctor Strange's assistant.
Oh, I don't know. I don't like the superheroes.
You love it. Is there anyone else you recognised?
Not off the top of my head. There's probably people. Oh, actually, yeah. There's a small role for. I actually missed it. We were also watching with another friend of mine, Daniel Doughty, and
hi, Daniel.
Also pops up Martin from Game On, of Game On fame, who has not really been in anything for years much, but it's good to see him pop up in a little role.
He played Dora's father.
The father, yes. Yeah.
Which we'll get on to later. So yeah, I mean, before the podcast just turns into who was in it, I mean, the thing is, you could do this about every film. The only reason I've made such a big deal out of it on this one is because they were familiar to me and I recognised them. Like, you could just go through every film and go, oh, this person was in this, and this. This person was in this, and this. It wouldn't be that interesting. And this probably hasn't been that interesting for people to watch, but...
No, but I'm bored.
Well, everyone else can turn off. You cannot. You must stay. So back to the film. His mother's just got married. The guy's a Wally. Copperfield starts to rebel, which... Oh, we've actually said all this. Yeah, so he gets sent away to live with Mr. Micawber, also known as Trevor, me, and his wife, where he ends up working in the bottle factory. Was there something you wanted to say about the bottle factory?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, I was just progressing things. It's quite a ludicrous factory, isn't it? It's more on the comedic front. I mean, what are they doing? I guess they're making bottles, but
you need bottles.
I guess you do need bottles.
Where do you think bottles come from, Gavin? Do you think they just grow on trees?
I thought you just made 4 of them and they kept getting recycled.
Uh-huh. But yeah, he works in a bottle factory and he's living with Mr. Micawber. Who was Mr. Micawber? How did he end up living with him?
I don't know.
It's just suddenly, I get that the dad, what was his name?
Oh, he ends up living with him because he's there when all of the bailiffs are around and he helps get rid of them, doesn't he? And then when he gets rid of them, Mr. McCormick drags him in through the window.
See, I get that, but I thought they knew each other beforehand. I'm sure Mr. Micawber comes up to him and he knows him somehow and he says something that indicates that he's supposed to be looking after him. I can't remember what he says exactly, but I mean, I thought he had been sent there to live there by his mum and Edward, but I didn't know who they were.
Could be. I don't know then. That was lost on me if he was arranged.
It seems, I mean, even if you dislike a child, if you're going to send them away, one would imagine you'd have a place for him to be living.
Maybe the mother would, but the Wally stepfather, maybe not. Just go on, get out there, get working, find your own place. Should say that Mr. Micawber he seems like he's constantly in debt. The bailiffs are after him at all times, to the point where there's a great scene where they're inside and they're trying to get in through the windows. It's almost like a Night of the Living Dead or something.
Yeah, I quite like that.
And then my favourite bit where he's got this clock that he's moving away from everybody, and then all of a sudden somebody just grabs it out from the window, pulls it out, goes, "Thank you," which was very Monty Python. It's like a very Monty Python delivery of that line as well.
Yeah, I liked it. And then immediately he took it off his hat and put it back down. I thought someone was going to take their hat as well, but
Oh, I didn't notice.
it didn't happen. They took the clock, he takes off his hat, puts it down, and he's talking, and I just thought there'd be a hand grabbing the hat, but it didn't happen. Missed opportunity. Anyway, we quickly learn, as you've already stated, Rebel with debt. A couple of good scenes here. Quite liked when the bailiffs do finally get in. They cut them in, push over what looks like quite an expensive looking statue, and then grab the stand and walk out with it.
There's great. There's quite a few good bits in that. They take away the cooked chicken.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they're cooking a chicken inside, and they're taking it out, and he starts going, "Oh, don't take away a man's chicken!" And then they try to take away his daughter.
Well, kind of. They're taking the rug, aren't they? And she's on.
No.
Were they actually taking her away?
When they're all outside, when he actually loses the house, and they're on the cart. One of the bailiffs takes the daughter.
Oh yes, actually, yeah, that did happen. I'm jumping ahead a bit, which is the next part of my note. After this scene, we jump forward about 10 years ahead, where strangely Copperfield has aged as you'd expect, but Mr. McCorb and his wife have not aged at all and haven't even changed their clothes. They're just exactly as they are, but 10 years later.
That's definitely like an Armando Iannucci thing. He's quite often got a very surreal look on comedy, and I think that's purposefully done. I also should note, I love the way we see the transition of David's age, because there's a shot of him working in the bottle factory as a small child, and then it like just cuts still in the factory, him as an adult working there, and it's really well done transition there. It shows time moving very well.
Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone else ages either. All the little kids in the factory stay kids, don't they? Like, just
they're the same kids.
I think so. I didn't make a note of that. Now it's just something I'm thinking of. I'm pretty sure they're all the same kids.
That would be funny.
And in this factory, we get to the scene now that he's an adult that you mentioned earlier. Do you wanna? Have you got it written down?
Yes. Where he's told that well, at first he's called to the office and he's told that his mum is ill.
How ill?
And then he's told, how ill? Oh, very ill. In fact, she's gravely ill.
Dangerously ill.
She's dead. She's dead.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that she died. I missed how long ago, but it was some time ago.
And they've had when's the funeral?
That day, is it?
No, it's already happened.
It's already happened.
Is the other thing. It's like, oh yeah, we've already had it.
There's a good moment as well where his boss tries to like console him, just a hand, just tapping him from afar, like in consolement.
Mm-hmm. And it's strangely, his mother's death seems to be where his life turns around somewhat. As a turning point, he quits his job after breaking a ton of bottles, returns to his family home, where he stays with his aunt, who I thought at this point was the woman from the first scene. And this is the lady who calls him Trotwood, which I believe is the first example of someone giving him a different name, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Strangely, almost every character Copperfield interacts with during the film calls him by a different name. Didn't really understand it, but from this point on, I will refer to David Copperfield as Tony. For the rest of my notes, I call him Tony.
Right, that won't be confusing.
If I mention someone called Tony, it's David.
Okay.
Whilst living with his aunt, Tony forms a close bond with Mr. Dick, who also hears voices and writes everything down. They fly kites and have a jolly good time together.
Not just voices, is it? It's when King Charles had his head cut off. Apparently all of King Charles's thoughts were transferred to Mr. Dick's mind.
But he's hearing them as voices, and he writes down the thoughts.
And there's some more bits of like that Armando Iannucci surrealist comedy where they just have problems with donkeys. Like they have a problem with donkeys for some reason. Have signs everywhere saying no donkeys and constantly have to scare off the donkeys.
Yeah, but they're not donkeys, just wild donkeys either. There's a man with them.
Yeah, later on there's like children just with them. I don't think there's anything to understand in that. It's just a strange piece of humour.
Yeah, no, I appreciated it. Copperfield is now at some school of some kind, where he's living all of a sudden, with no real transition that I noticed or saw.
I believe he got, now that he found this aunt, I think they're reasonably well off at the time, so they sent him to public school.
And it makes sense. I didn't notice any conversations about going to school or anything like that. He just suddenly seemed to be there for me, but don't know.
I mean, there's so much of a journey that I think you've got to pick a few things to leave out.
This is kind of my point about the runtime. I mean, it's 2 hours long, but it does feel like there's a lot cut out of it. So at the school, he befriends a kid called James Steerforth, who just so happens to be the guy he is sharing a room with. And he refers to David Copperfield as Daisy, which is the name he gives him. Oh, not David Copperfield. Tony. Sorry, my error.
This is also where David Copperfield... You've got to stop that. That's
No,
annoying.
Tony.
Where David Copperfield starts kind of telling his stories, the stories of his life.
Yes.
Although he's making them out to be fiction here.
Yes.
So it's the personal history of David Copperfield.
I understand the title, I just don't like it.
School.
Hmm?
I don't remember a lot from the school really. I mean, he's quite quickly becomes one of the popular kids
By doing the impressions.
Yep.
Which was another thing that was glossed over, to be fair. He's doing the impression of Uriah Heep, and he's in the background. I got the impression that the whole point of him doing these impressions was that he's going over here and there's going to be some kind of problem that comes from it. It's just kind of glossed over. He just does the impressions, and that's it.
So?
It just seemed a bit... Why? Why is it there? It wasn't funny impressions, it wasn't adding anything.
They were quite good.
I mean, they were alright, but... don't know. It seems, especially as they were quite mean towards people, I thought someone would have overheard. It's just... No.
No. Just seemed like a little add-on to his storytelling. Something to give it a little bit of panache.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fine to me.
I don't have many notes of the school, but at some point...
No.
He meets Dora, who he instantly falls for, whilst ignoring the advances of Agnes, who I don't think we've mentioned yet.
No, we haven't actually, and she's been an important part of the film.
She is. Do you want to tell us a bit about Agnes, as we've skipped over her completely?
No, because I can't remember too much.
She's an important part of the film, but don't know anything about her.
I can't remember who she is to start with, though. I know she ends up getting involved with Uriah.
She comes in, the first time we see her, she is with Mr. Wickford. Yeah, his character. Yes.
Of course.
And they instantly kind of hit it off. I thought there was going to be an immediate love connection there, but Tony doesn't seem interested. He's all about Dora, and her dog.
Yeah, I quite like the introduction there where she's talking for the dog, and then he's like, "Oh no, I like to do that all the time too," and he pretends to be the tree.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes really awkward as they're saying goodbye.
Strangely, as we're talking about this, recapping on lots of moments, I'm thinking of changing my rating.
Oh, and we should also mention that Dora is played by the same actress who plays David's mother earlier in the film.
Indeed, which that implies all kinds of Back to the Future subplots about dating your own mother that I tried to make a joke about during the film, and you were just, no, Go away.
Stop.
Haven't got time for you.
Just more of it's just more of Armando Iannucci's off-kilter humour, really, isn't it? There's no need to bring up incest into this.
Do you not feel that they were cast as the love interest and mother for comedic effect because of the relationship?
Not for... No, I don't think so. I think probably... I think it might be for to give him a reason to like her, you know. How isn't there a saying, you're always attracted to a woman like your mother?
True.
Especially in Norfolk.
I thought we weren't getting incestuous, Gavin.
Well, you dragged it down there, didn't you?
And then Dora gives Tony a new name. How dare she? His name is Tony. That's the note I made. Zen explained that his aunt and Mr. Dick are now poor, but doesn't really explain why at this point. It's hinted that Uriah Heep has had some kind of part in it, and has forged a signature of Mr. Wickfield, but I wasn't quite clear what he did or how or what was happening.
No, I wasn't sure.
They just end up living in a new apartment, which is very small. He bumps into names of characters. Mr. Micawber and his wife. They all end up living with them. They're all in this tiny little room.
Yep. Another kind of feels a little bit like Monty Python. Which film was it? The Meaning of Life. There's a scene where what is it? Every sperm is sacred, where the Catholics have sex and just keep having kids, and they've got hundreds of kids in this tiny little house.
Yes. So they're all in this little place when he suddenly remembers that he's supposed to be meeting Steerforth to bring him to Yarmouth to meet his family, who, again, don't know who they are. I think it's aunt and uncle. They live in the shipwrecked boat on the beach.
I don't think it's shipwrecked, is it? It's just upside down.
I mean, that's the definition of a shipwrecked boat, isn't
Well,
it?
no, I think they've made it like that because the son-in-law even brings up how he's going to make his own one half a mile up the beach.
Okay. Fair point. Nothing of real significance seems to happen here other than the fact that Steerforth runs away with Emily.
I think that's actually quite a pivotal scene because he's really excited to take his friend back to a childhood place where he's got great memories of, and just nothing of his childhood memory is like the same. Like he's too tall, so he keeps smacking his head. The grandmother is now just vomiting everywhere. She has a great line. She goes, "I feel I'm going to be sick in a substantial way," and apparently she vomits more than she eats. That if they're his uncle, his niece hasn't married her childhood sweetheart, so I think that's quite an important scene. It's like his idyllic childhood, as he saw it, wasn't as great as it was, or has turned to crap now.
Yeah, okay. With that spin, I suppose so. Steerforth ends up running away with Emily, who's engaged to one of his family members. So you're saying now that he was one of the adopted children? So I didn't...
No, she was.
I
think he is the son-in-law, isn't he?
His name was Ham, which I quite liked. Just Ham. After all this, after Steerforth runs off with Emily, Copperfield... Tony... I'm ashamed of myself. My notes are abysmal. Keep calling him Copperfield.
I'm ashamed of you as well.
Tony returns to Dora, and he now seems less than happy with her, like in the relationship sense. He tells her that he's poor, and she takes it as him proposing and says yes, without him actually proposing. I know he was planning to before he left, but then he had that change of heart, but then you got all of that. Mm-hmm. But when did he lose interest, in your opinion?
In Dora?
I
don't know, does he see The other girl again, whose name I forgot. Is it...
Agnes.
Yes, does he see Agnes again?
He sees her a couple of times, and she's constantly coming on to him, and he doesn't seem interested in her at all. He's constantly shunning her away whilst...
When does he realise?
Well, right at the end. Literally, it's one of my last notes on it. He just suddenly... Oh, I want to be with Agnes now. It seemed very out of the blue. We then learn about Uriah's foul play, although I wasn't quite sure how they found out, or what he did, or... I mean, the whole subplot of Uriah being the bad guy seemed a bit strange to me. I mean, I get it, but I don't get how or why. I get why, but it just wasn't explained very well.
No, I'm not sure it needs to be explained that well, but no, I wasn't too sure what was going on regarding it. Obviously, he's taking advantage of the drunken Mr. Wickford, is it?
Wickfield.
Wickfield, that's
Sounds
it.
like Wigfield.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah. Wow.
Who would you rather get drunk with? Mr. Wickfield or Wigfield?
Ooh. What day of the week would we be going out?
Saturday night.
Clearly.
It's a good joke, I like that.
Yeah, no, that was good. Clearly influenced by all of the great British comedians. And trying to work out other joke and it's not working.
Are we at where he's getting his comeuppance now, Uriah, or is that right at the end?
Yeah, no, that's here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a good bit where he falls over, and I think it's the nanny or aunt who says, "Stove his head in with a cake."
Didn't notice that. There's a lot of things that probably do require multiple viewings, but...
There are a lot of little lines here all over the place, and there's probably some stuff in the background. I feel like I noticed something in the background and didn't write it down. Yeah. That's when, I think this is now when he decides he's actually going to write his story, isn't it?
It is. Tony writes a book, they buy back the family house, and everyone lives happily ever after. That's how I summed up the end. There's
a bit where when he's writing, Dora comes in and is like, "Oh, I just want to help. Can I hold the pens?" And I really like the moment where she's like, "I don't really fit, do I? You should write me out." And he just does, and she's never seen or heard of again. She's written out of the book and the film.
Yeah.
It's great. I love that.
See, if that was but he had decided that he wasn't into her before that scene. If that was the scene which kind of instigated his thought process of, "Yeah, you're right. I suppose I'm not really that into you," it would have made a bit more sense.
I think it would have come across a bit cold then, if that's the instant he instantly realised and was like, "Yeah, you're right. Off you go." I think it might have brought his character down a little.
Maybe. So, any more notes film-wise? I'm out.
I like when he's writing and the way the film kind of recaps his whole life in these like background shots and like a nice montage. That was very well done.
Yeah. I think stylistically and written-wise, in terms of dialogue at least, maybe not story, it was very good. I liked. So, each week we have a little segment from someone who's far less qualified than us, but we let him on anyway because we pity him, don't we? And he's
not very good like us. We're good.
Poor Keir. But we let him on.
He tries.
He does his best. And this is going to be him now. So, give a cheer for Keir.
Yeah.
Come on. I have to encourage you to be enthusiastic every goddamn week. Give me an encouraged cheer for Keir.
Yes!
That'll do. Keir!
The personal history of David Copperfield. The movie that nobody asked for. Like, nobody. I'm pretty sure. I mean, why would they? I don't even think Dev Patel would have asked for it. And he hasn't had a job in 4 years. Quite why Armando Iannucci decided to give this bouncy, jaunty tale a non-satirical bash, I cannot tell you. There is no pessimism here. It's a flat-out farcical fairy tale romp. And it's fine. In that aspect, I could liken it to Garden State. There's nothing at all wrong with it, but then there's nothing particularly noteworthy about it either. And frankly, well, that offends me. Quite frankly, I'd much rather have my optical orbs offended and my oral spuds insulted, just to give me some sort of ire to expel. To give me feeling, any bloody feeling. I mean, this is like a BBC Christmas special. You sit down with all the family of all ages and nobody will have a bad word to say about it. It'll just be there, allowing people to sit in relative silence and not shout at each other, not complain about batteries not being included in the latest gift and there only being AAA batteries in the battery drawer. No one wants AAA batteries. You always need those little watch batteries for no reason. Dad can sneak a bottle of brandy over by his leg and sneakily keep refilling himself without anybody noticing. Gran can happily doze off in the corner, content that nobody's going to be watching her, worried that she's dead. And Mum can lose herself in peaceful bliss as the kids, with all their wonderful innocence, watch David Copperfield dart about in zany fashion, achieving, well, pretty much next to nothing. The only difference between this and your standard festive TV fodder is the cast. On TV, you get Nicholas Lyndhurst. Here, Peter Capaldi. Swap out TV's Robert Lindsay for the more big screen friendly Hugh Laurie. Say bye-bye to Zoe Wanamaker and hello to Tilda Swinton. And exchange the latest EastEnders fatality for the frequently fantastic Ben Whishaw. The cast overall is up and down, but basically hanging around the level of adequate. None of them pulling up any trees, but quite frankly, why should they? They are all very much aware that whoever their audience is really don't care if they're phoning this one in. Tilda Swinton is usually great. Here, yeah, she's good. However, she does continually creep me out and has done ever since Tim Roth's The War Zone. Ugh. She creeps me out nearly as much as Samantha Morton does, who's been haunting me ever since her appearance as a cult devotee in Robbie Coltrane's Magnus Opus, Cracker. But Samantha Morton's not in this movie, so don't know why I brought her up. Something to say? Dev Patel does what Dev Patel does. He acts, and you're fully aware that he is acting. Ooh, that's a bit harsh. I did actually quite like Lion. But whatever, he's in this and so he's annoyed me as well. Possibly the best player in this country's Daisy May Cooper. And when I say this country, I don't mean the infected plague-ridden island that we're trapped on at the moment. I mean the TV show This Country, starring Daisy May Cooper. She steals absolutely every scene that she's in as the lovable nanny. Albeit, it's not like the larger-than-life nanny getting all the best lines is something we haven't seen before. I was pleased to see Matthew Cottle pop up, one of the stars of the often forgotten, always underrated TV sitcom Game On. So, that was nice. Hugh Laurie is fine. Peter Capaldi is fine. Ben Whishaw is fine. They're all fine. It's fine. It's fine, fine, fine. It's fine all over the shop. It's just frickin' fine. If this movie were a singular actor, it would be Ryan Philippe. It looks good. It has all the right parts to be good, but really it's ultimately forgettable. You thought it was going to be maybe a bit special because everyone was talking about it, and then it was just fine. And I repeat, that is the problem. It's all so friendly. It's like a dinner party where everybody knows each other, but not very well. It's exceedingly polite. It's on its best behaviour. But really, what it's crying out for is somebody to bottle bong a bottle of Chateauneuf de Pape, start blurting out some home truths, and begin to play footsie under the table with the hostess. In summary, to paraphrase the final line of the movie, don't worry, you'll make it through. But the ride won't really be all that. Now, I'm off to go and watch Come and See again to remind myself that I do have feelings. Not get that time, Pat. Laters.
Welcome back. That was Keir Mills. As always, I forgot to say earlier, he did that recording in my shed.
That's where you keep him, isn't it?
Yeah, he lives there. What did you think of the film, Ben? Let's do our ratings before we're getting on to...
Wow, what did I think? It's quite a difficult one because I do really like it. And there isn't a great deal to fault about it. But just story-wise, it's not even that it's all over the place, because it isn't. I mean, it comes together. It is all over the place, but that infers that it doesn't make sense and that it doesn't come together. And I think it comes together quite well. I think it's just a story that you don't fully enjoy the ride of, but it's because of the good writing, the great lines, and some of the stylistic elements of how it's shot and edited, and the acting all around is solid. So, that brings it up from the confinements of its story.
Agreed.
Overall, I like it a lot. I wouldn't watch it a third time.
Would you have watched it a second time if it wasn't for the film club?
Probably not. Although I did watch it this time in 4K. I only watched it in HD last time, and just to see the King's Lynn bits in 4K, it's very nice.
Yes, indeed. So, what's your rating out of 5?
What's half of 7? That's like 3.5. 3.5. It's a solid 3.5.
Okay. For me, it's a film that has a lot of good dialogue, a couple of highly enjoyable scenes, a star-studded cast. The story itself is a bit of a mess for me. I was confused about locations, characters, and as you said, the story itself isn't one that I knew. It wasn't one that I wanted to see. I didn't know the story of the book. And watching this didn't make me want to go and read the book. The story, it's very thin on story. It has style, substance, characters, a lot of good lines. Wasn't keen on the story too much.
I wouldn't call it thin on story.
Would you not?
Thin on story would say that there isn't a lot to it. The problem might be that there's too much to it.
Yeah. But, okay, there's not a lot that happens on the screen. I think... I don't know, because it's just... It's glossed over. Like, it introduces things, but then glosses over them too quickly. It doesn't explain stuff. Don't know if that just makes me an idiot for not getting it, but don't know. I was lost a lot, is my point. A lot of the characters don't really get much of a chance to shine. Sudden relationships come out of nowhere, like him and Agnes did not... I mean, obviously that was set up quite early with her coming on to him, and then when he loses his interest in Dora, it's implied, but he had shown no interest in Agnes up until that point, and then all of a sudden they're hooking up. So I'm going with a generous, in my opinion, 3.5 out of 5. Same as you. I wrote 6 out of 10 here, which would have been 3 out of 5. But I'm knocking it up 1 or half. Just because whilst we've been discussing it, I mean, we've been laughing, we've been having a jolly time.
Just like last week.
Well, last week I was torn. I didn't even have it.
No, you've missed my joke. You said we were laughing, having a jolly time, just like last week, because it was a bleak movie.
I understand. Sorry, went over my head.
It's always better. It's always better when you explain these things. Makes for better comedy.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. So yes, 7 or 3.5 out of 10. You've done 3.5 out of 10 as well, Gavin. So what's 3.5 plus 3.5? What would that be?
What? Three... Can you have a half of something if it's already a whole? I don't know. 7.
7. Alright. That's the wrong one of them.
7 out of 20.
I think it's... no, because that'd be 3.5 out of 10, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I don't do numbers. I don't like numbers.
It's 7 out of 10 is our official CKFC rating.
You can't ask me to do maths anymore. I was once described as numerically special.
Well, then I'm going to ask you to do the maths every week. It's more fun.
Okay.
Right, so each week we do a random film draw. We have one of these things here which does numbers. You put numbers in there and then in there, and then you hit this randomise button and it randomises the number, chooses a film for us. We have 16 entries. In there, there's only 1, 2, 3, 5 films. So multiple people have got multiple entries. You gain a new entry each week that your film is not picked. So 5 different films, 16 numbers. So if anyone does want a film in this draw for next week, then get involved, because there are only, well, after this, whatever film is picked, there will only be 4 films in the hat.
How do you get involved, Trevor?
I don't know. Do you know? You can tell us.
If you go to the Facebook and search Cool Kids Film Club, you'll find it, and then you can join, and you can join the festivities, and maybe we'll talk about you on the podcast like really horribly, and you'll feel bad and never return again.
Wow, you sold it.
Yeah.
Are you ready then? You ready to see what next week's film is?
I was born ready.
Right, randomise, go! 13, which is Debbie Webb's film, the person who did our logo. It's almost like we paid her to do her services by promising her a film. We didn't, but it's almost as if we did that. Her film is Run from 2020.
I don't know anything about this.
It's quite apt for the current times. It's something about homeschooling a child who...
Oh, look, it's directed by the guy who did Searching, which was brilliant. Film entirely on a laptop. About a missing person, which I highly recommend.
Well, this film, Run, is about a child who's being homeschooled by her mother. Don't know much about it other than that. She learns that her mum is keeping some kind of secret from her or something. I don't really know much about it, but it did look good. It was a film that I was tempted to watch, but then didn't. And then it's come up in the film club, so it's given me an excuse to.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Indeed. So, is there anything you'd like to say? Anything you want to get off your chest?
Oh my god, the cat's dying.
Well, the cat wants to say something. What do you think the cat wants to say? I mean, you probably shouldn't laugh so much.
I should, because... right, I'm turning my camera around here. There's a loop-de-loop there. A Hot Wheels loop-de-loop that the cat just attempted to go through, but got stuck in. And then the dog came and started sniffing the cat's anus, which the cat did not enjoy at all.
No?
No.
Oh, it sounded like it certainly did not.
No, it didn't. It did not like its anus being sniffed one bit.
Fair enough. I'm done. You done?
I am now, after I've witnessed that. I feel like Fleora from Come and See.
Fair enough. Which, for anyone who's only watching this one, who hasn't seen our other episodes, that was the film from last week. Go check it out. Oh, I feel like one of those actual YouTubers. Click and subscribe. Tell your friends.
Smash that like button.
Yeah, do that. Maybe we'll have a competition. If you do that, if you like and subscribe, then Gavin will get his willy out.
Whoa! It's 2020. You can't say that. I don't get my willy out now when I'm on my own. It stays in at all times, just in case.
Just in case. Fair enough. Stop 'em! Come away from the camera.
Bloody animals.
Come away!
Should we kill them all?
Come here. No, she's just looking at me rebelliously like, no, I'm not coming here. Right, it's time to find out now if this has actually worked. My phone might be off. I don't know.
Mine's not. Mine's still recording. I just saw when I moved it to look at the atrocities.
Well, I'm going to stop recording on here. Yeah.
Alright, shall we say bye? Bye!
No, I'm not going to say bye. Bye!
This is the Cool Kids Film Club Podcast. Watch films with